Hi guys. Welcome to my car. A little bit of a new venue today. I'm in between massage and chiro appointments. So I decided to talk about grace and sustainability with you guys, especially when we have issues. I guess for those of you guys that don't know me, my name's Megan. I'm also known as Going Green Mom online, pretty much everywhere. Not Pinterest. I'm not Going Green Mom on Pinterest, but I am everywhere else. So anyway, in the last video I mentioned, and I hope that doesn't keep wobbling. I'm sorry. I've got this like balanced on a mask hanging from my rearview mirror. So hopefully it will quit wobbling and be okay. Otherwise you guys might get seasick. But anyway, I've really been thinking about this a lot, and I was feeling really guilty about having gone 2.5 weeks without doing a video. And part of the reason I went 2.5 weeks was because I did wind up in a flare from working on the deck too much. I'd been out in the heat too much, and some of those things. So I wound up in a flare where I couldn't really do a whole lot of anything. And I realized that's not really something we often talk about. A lot of times we try and push through it. We try and, work this way or that way to make things work better, and just get around it. But sometimes we do just need to give ourselves a little time and grace to take the rest we need and go on. So, and a lot of you guys probably don't even realize they do anything with sustainability, but when I originally started with the Going Green Mom name, my son was itty bitty, like baby. I'd always been interested in like recycling and what these days is like going green. And that's how I wound up with that name when I needed a screen name for something, which was fine. And it has stuck around, and I'm very interested in those things, and hopefully I'll get some of those things back. But today I wanted to talk about it in a little bit different light, especially when we have chronic health issues like histamine intolerance. I also have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, for those of you guys that don't know that. So when we wind up with a flare, we need to let ourselves rest a little bit, get over those things. And trust me, I am far from perfect at this. Even just this morning, it had been raining. I needed to get the yard mowed. It's Wednesday. They like us to have it done on the same day every week if possible. One of those things. I needed to get the yard mowed today. I knew I wasn't going to be in a state after my appointments to want to go out and mow. And really, it's not the best thing to be doing when you just get your back adjusted, because it's more likely to go back out and not hold. So I knew I'd need to go home and just rest. So that meant I needed to get it done this morning. So I waited until it was just a light rain. It wasn't like it was a downpour, and it had dried off for an hour or so. I went out. It was only 71. It wasn't super hot. I just pushed through it. It normally takes me 2 breaks and 2 hours to get my yard mowed. And I got it mowed in probably 45 to 50 minutes, and I didn't stop. Literally, the only time I stopped with the mower was to move furniture, which is not always the lightest thing to do either, but I did it. Between the swarming mosquitoes or ants or gnats or whatever they are in my yard, and the bug bites from them, and the added exertion without the breaks, by the time I got to my appointment, I have hives all over my upper arms. So obviously I overdid it. Okay, I know I overdid it. I know I shouldn't have overdone it. The more sustainable thing to have done would probably have been to go out last night before it got too buggy, but it was not as hot, and do it then. Doesn't always work. I'm giving myself grace. It's okay. I can deal with the hives. But it's like that 2.5 weeks that I was not here. Well, how can I make that more sustainable? You're not going to see this video until Friday. I'm going to schedule it. I'll probably have another video filmed this week yet for next Friday. I'm just going to make it part of my routine to be a video or two ahead so that I can be consistent for you guys. I mean, we know that YouTube really needs that to help you build, to see that you're serious about it. So I need to do that part, but I need to make that sustainable. So over the course of time, I do plan to bring up some of the sustainability aspects that have changed, that I see people having continuous problems with, and it's like, oh, I hadn't really ever thought about that because I changed how I did that so many years ago before I had histamine issues. So I am going to bring up some of that stuff in the next few months. But at the same time, I'm going to build sustainability into my routines so that it helps me not go into a flare. And at the same time, if I wind up in one, I can give myself grace. I don't have to worry about it. It's covered. And you know, a lot of preparedness and homesteading and stuff, that's natural. But that's not necessarily where you guys are coming from. That's one reason I got into the whole food storage thing. I started doing food storage 14 years ago because I wasn't in physical... For me to physically go into a store and shop, I would be down for a couple of days after that. That didn't really work so well when I was trying to support 2 kids, a toddler and a newborn no less. It didn't really work for me. So I started lengthening out how much so that I would buy a month worth of groceries at a time, and then all I had to do was run into a gas station or somewhere for milk and bread. Back then I ate bread, you know, I could do that, no worries. And did we eat differently then? Yes, we did lots of canned goods. I would make, you know, tomato sauce and stuff out of canned tomatoes. I didn't know it was an issue. I didn't know I was at high risk for histamine intolerance. Know better, do better. You know, I didn't have those issues then. It wasn't something I could foresee happening. Did that have an effect? I don't know. I've had vertigo issues since I was a teenager, so I expect to some degree, and maybe that's the mast cell issues. I don't know. Another matter of grace. I walked out of the house without my water, my reusable cup I normally carry. My massage therapist, you need to be drinking water after a massage because it moves all the stuff. And so you really need the water to help your body clear everything out. So, you know, I'll throw it in the recycle bin when I get home. It'll be okay. No big deal. But, you know, it's okay to give yourself grace. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to do things differently when you're having a flare. But at the same time, at least in my opinion, I don't want to have flares on a regular basis. So the reverse part of that is, how are you going to make your day-to-day more sustainable once you're not flaring? I mean, while you're flaring, deal with the flare. That needs to be your focus. Take the rest. Take whatever you need to do to get the flare under control, and then figure out a better way to do things going forward. So for me, for example, mowing this morning, I was getting bitten by bugs. Not good, because I don't react well to those, because that triggers mast cell issues. I did get one thing right. It was only 71, so it wasn't hot out when I was mowing. I got hot. Probably should have stopped at least once, just from the exertion. But if you do later in the day, earlier in the day, I don't know if you guys watch Roots and Refuge Farms. She works early morning. I don't do that so much because right now I'm having a lot of trouble with my sleep patterns. I'm having a lot of trouble getting to sleep at night and staying asleep because of the histamine dumps. And for those of you that don't know, your natural circadian rhythms, histamine typically dumps between like 2 and 5-ish in the morning while you're asleep. So, and like lately I'm noticing sometimes that's a little earlier, sometimes, I don't know. I'm working on it. So, make sure you're getting your rest. Make sure you're trying to get to bed earlier if you're having a flare. Make sure you're trying to build in routines that let you get to bed when you're not having a flare. Because if you can get your sleep hygiene situated, it's going to be a lot easier to get the rest of your stuff down so that you're not flaring. You're not overloading your histamine bucket constantly. Adjust those things. Adjust so that you are using some sort of a sustainable routine. Sustainability isn't just recycling and, organic gardening. That's not all it is. For something to be sustainable, it needs to be something that you can perpetually do. It's not something that will deplete your energy. It's not something that will deplete your resources and not allow you to keep going. In environmental terms, we think of it of being able to pass things down generation to generation for multiple generations ahead of us. In terms of how you live your life and whether or not activities are sustainable, I don't know if you guys have heard the spoon story, and I'm probably going to butcher this because I haven't read it in a while, but and the spoon thing, I believe it was somebody that had lupus, but it really applies to so many chronic illnesses. It really makes a whole lot of sense for a lot of us. So anyway, this woman's out with a friend at a restaurant of some sort, and she's trying to explain how the disease affects her, and she winds up grabbing, those trays at restaurants where you've got like a whole bunch of spoons or forks or whatever from where they're wrapping the silverware. she grabs those. And so you've got this like bouquet of spoons that you're looking at. It's like, okay, just to get up out of bed is a spoon. And then to get dressed and brush your teeth and all that, maybe that takes 2 spoons. And then to go somewhere, that's probably 5 or 6 spoons. And however many spoons you're using, you have to realize that you have to have enough spoons to get through the day. If you use all your spoons in 2 hours, you're going to crash. You can't just keep going. So you need to plan to have a spoon to get your bedtime routine done, and maybe 3 spoons to fix dinner, and maybe a spoon or 2 to help your kids with homework. However it is for you, you just need to be aware of what your routine is taking and what inputs and everything, so that you can make that routine as efficient as possible, so it takes less from you to keep your world going. Because if it causes you to crash, that's not sustainable. And I'm not saying we don't ever, wind up eating something we shouldn't because we needed to eat and we were somewhere and our systems failed. It's okay. It happens. Give yourself grace. And then build in sustainability for next time. I guess that is really my main point. Give yourself grace to get through whatever you got to get through, and then build in the sustainability going forward. And with that, I'm going to get off here and go to my next appointment. I will see you guys next week. Talk to you later.